These images of sea turtles were drawn by 7-year-old Abigail. Along seashores, the unhatched eggs of the endangered species are greatly valued and protected by state and federal law. With the unborn human life, it is not so. Meet Jessica, one of 2 young women who each made the choice to have an abortion. Now close friends whose stories are deeply intertwined.
I was 17 when I became pregnant. I was going into the military. I really didn't have family around. My father had been sick for about 2 years by then, and my mom was a drug addict, so she wasn't in the picture at all. My dad was an amazing dad. I grew up with an amazing father. He cared a lot about my sister and I. He raised us by himself. He was incredible. And I think that the fact that he got sick, which wasn't his fault, but I still felt abandoned, so to say. And my mom hadn't been in my life at all. And I had already felt abandoned by her. And I remember after my dad got sick, us getting in touch with my mom and her telling us she didn't want anything to do with us.
Growing up through her eyes.
In the Black culture, from what I saw, all I saw was women with no males in the picture, with 3 or 4 different kids by 3 or 4 different men. And that's all I saw. Where I grew up at in Newark, New Jersey, that was all that was around me. In my family, my biological family, that was all that was around me. There was nobody who stayed married. No, so I felt like all the odds were against me. I couldn't succeed in life with just being an adult, so to say, and making something of myself that every circumstance said I wasn't going to be. I heard of people that were close relatives that had them. 4 or 5 of them. I believed abortion was okay because society made it okay. It was if it's a problem, you fix it. And in society, that was the problem, and that's how you fixed it. It's another form of birth control. So if you have sex and you don't feel like using protection, there's always that route you can take. It's not seen as taking a life, it's seen as birth control.
Feeling there was no way out.
I freaked out. I freaked out. I really didn't know what to say. I was at a standstill, so to say. It was just like the world had stopped and everything was in slow motion. And I felt like at that moment, I didn't have a choice other than abortion. My worst fear was not being able to take care of my child, not being able to support it.
So at age 17, there was the process of closing the deal.
A friend of mine and myself, we pulled up to the abortion clinic, and there was this lady that came, and she asked, could she talk to me? And I said, yeah, sure. It's one of the picketers that stand outside and, have their signs. And so we pulled over and I spoke with her, and she said, I knew this girl once that had this abortion and went through this process. And in my mind, the whole time she was talking was, you're not that girl. You don't know what I feel like right now. You don't know, you don't understand how I feel. You don't understand the predicament that I'm in. You don't understand my background. You know nothing about me. You just heard of someone once who had it, and she regretted it, and she dealt with this whole lifetime of pain, but you're not that person. After I was done, I went inside, and I remember waiting there, and they were actually, when I walked in, they were actually nice people. The term that was used when I was there, they kept calling it a clump of cells. It was like desensitizing it, so to say, making me feel better about my decision so that they can, make the sale, so to say. I went back and I saw the doctor, and he was giving me a checkup and asking questions and, we went into the room where the actual abortion takes place, and I remember sitting up in a chair, and I asked if I could have an ultrasound because they didn't offer one to me. I remember them putting an IV in my arm, and I was out. And the next time I woke up, I was laying down on one of the couches that they had in the back room.
Done. Now, 9 years later, at age 26, Jessica's understanding of a quick fix has changed.
You can't make a decision off of not allowing yourself to think, meaning there's going to be times that arise where you think you have to make a quick decision when in all actuality you don't. You can take a step back and really think about what you're doing, because the consequence will always be there. I didn't turn to anybody. I couldn't turn to anybody. I didn't even talk about it for 2 years. All because you have an abortion doesn't mean that you're not a mom. You're still a mom. If a mother loses her 30-year-old son, she's still a mom. He's just not there anymore. The first thing that comes to my mind is the wedding or graduation. The baby will never graduate from high school, never mind college, or, they won't take a first step. They won't have a first word. They won't have a first tooth.
Jessica now seeks healthy solutions for those who are facing what she faced.
I believe that, everybody has a problem, but no one brings a solution. Instead of going out and picketing, what about bringing a goodie bag of onesies and diapers? And if a woman, you don't even have to say anything to her, just hand her the goodie bag. And I believe that, when she opens that, she'll see it's something that's attainable. I believe that changing the mind of, those people are just going and talking to them, not condemning them. I immediately think of adoption. I've known quite a few couples in my life who weren't able to have children and would do anything to have a child, and, would be completely open to adopting a child. And I think that abortion kind of takes that out of the hands of those people, so to say, because if you find yourself in a position where you don't want the baby, there's somebody out there who does, and it'll take it in a heartbeat. There are plenty of pro-life clinics that have information and options. I know I can think of 5 off the top of my head right now, just in the surrounding area, that have those options and that are willing to help with any situation in any circumstance, and I've seen them give away loads of diapers if the person even wants to keep the baby, loads of diapers and formula. And even if, there's someone that wants to consider adoption, that have those resources to where they don't have to feel like they're going through the process alone or by themselves. They have that support behind them.
Have you experienced disdain or any rejection due to your abortion?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I have. Very much so. There's been, especially in the church, believe it or not, where I've overheard people talk about abortion and how people, God would never, how could anybody ever get to heaven if they had an abortion? And I've experienced that, and it just makes me kind of smile because the Jesus I know, he accepts everybody. So.
Give me the details of that. He accepts everybody. How do you know that, Jessica?
I know he accepts everybody because his word says that he died for all. He didn't specify. He didn't say some. He didn't say this amount of people. He said all. So if anyone is willing to come to him, he accepts them. And he's just waiting for us to come and to draw to him. and he's able to draw to us. And those people that were judgmental or rejected me, I more so felt sorry because they didn't know the Jesus that I knew.
Why do we see a radical turnaround in Jessica?
The person I am today has a lot to do with the people I met 10 years ago. And of course, Christ too, but I got to know Christ through these people. And about 10 years ago, I was working in a restaurant and I was a hostess, and these people would always come in and they'd always say hi and speak. And it was the Mano family. And they invited me to church one time, and I went, and I was baptized December 21st, I remember the exact date, 2007, and or 2006, and they just loved on me, and they cared so much about me, and they brought me in and loved me like their own. They're my mom and dad. I call my mom and dad, and all the three girls, those are my sisters, and that's my family.
Now, almost a decade later, Jessica meets with others who walk the same lonely journey.
I'm just thankful that I get to share my story. I go into detention centers, and there's been girls who have been in there and that I've spoken with that find out that they're pregnant before they go in, and just talking to them and, you know, kind of opening their eyes to understand what's actually growing inside of them. It's not a clump of cells, it's a human being.
She's making new friends along the way.
I met a lady once who only opened up to her husband after 30 years and then opened up to me after she learned my story. And I also had a friend who opened up to me as well. She didn't even know that I went through the same thing. She just gave me a phone call one day and said that she felt that the Lord put me on her heart to call. And I was the first person that she had opened up to about it.
Tell me that young woman's name.
Maria. She's an awesome girl. I've known Maria for a really long time, probably about 5 or 6 years. And she is just an amazing person. And she's gone through a lot with her story and just everything that she has been through. It's incredible. And I'm actually just glad that I was able to see God work in her life and able to see him transform the way she viewed things and the way her thought processes were.
In May of 2014, Jessica married Dr. Shannon Eaton. Both are pastors.
My husband was, when we were courting, we never say we were dating, we were courting, and because we had intentions to marry. And he was the most amazing man. He opened my door. He respected me. He never, we were abstinent until we were married. He never pushed me. We were never alone together. We set up boundaries, and I think that the boundaries that you both set up, and I think that that's value right there. I think a man would show you value by respecting the boundaries and having his own boundaries, and vice versa for a woman as well. It's a woman's right to choose. We hear that all the time. It's a woman's right to choose. It is a woman's right to choose. It's a woman's right to choose whether she should lay down in bed with a man or not. That's her right to choose, absolutely. I believe that after that decision was made, she made her choice. And we all know the consequences of that could probably mean that there's a baby. The only way to 100% ensure that there isn't a child is abstinence. Love is not a feeling. Love is a decision. I've learned thus far that love is the decision. There's times where I don't want to love my husband the way I did yesterday. And I'm sure there's times that he feels the same way about me, but it's a decision that we made to love each other. When that love is in place, and my husband and I, for example, it's a different kind of, it's not just intercourse. It's a love, it's a compassion. It's a different type of anything I've ever experienced. It's an intimacy. We found out we were pregnant. We're having a baby. We're so excited. We are so excited. I love Starbucks. I drink a lot of coffee. Well, not now because I'm pregnant, but I drink a lot of coffee. And we had 3 Starbucks cups. and a venti, which is the largest one, and then the medium size, which is a grande, and then a tiny short one, which they usually put their espresso in. And that's how we announced it with 3 Starbucks cups. It's so neat to think that God is growing a human being in my body. It's so neat to think. And just the process of being able to just be used, so to say, for that miracle, because it's a miracle that happens. My husband and I are becoming one flesh in our child.
Proverbs 22:1. A good name is more desirable than great riches.
My middle name is Hope, and it's, every time I look at a paper that's mailed to my home and, what it means to me, it means, to me personally, every time I see my middle name, it's like God knew that this is what I was going to experience in life. And he allowed me to have that name. He allowed me to have it so that I would always be reminded that there's hope. There's always hope. I'm a child of the King, and I base myself off of that. And I don't look at myself from my own achievements or failures. I try to look at myself through the eyes of Him.